It's not a coming out story, but it is a coming of age story, I think, for both the father and child. And it's about their relationship, first and foremost, but of course, it's tackling issues that we don't necessarily deal with in our communities, or we kind of want to brush it under the table. It's taboo. But to see so many families destroyed because they're unable to talk about these issues is kind of why I made the film. Let's put it out there. It's not necessarily an issue film. It's about a family. In the end of the day, even though these things are hard to talk about, if you put love and family first, we can talk about that stuff later. But let's embrace one another, and let's try to reconcile each other's differences in order to, save our families. Gun Hill Road, it's one of the landmark streets in the Bronx. It's in the North Bronx, and kind of a rougher neighborhood, but it kind of goes the stretch of the Bronx from east to west. And there are different communities along. There's the black section, Jamaican section, Latino section of Gun Hill Road, and it's part of the Bronx that my family grew up in, and spent a lot of time up there. And I guess I wanted to just explore a side of the Bronx that we haven't necessarily seen on screen before. We're sort of used to seeing cops and robbers and different stereotypes. You take your pick, and I've never seen our families explored in a way that I experienced the Bronx. I've never seen our families depicted as as a culture that has a foundation that's rooted in love. I've never seen that, and I wanted to show that on screen, even though it's very hard. And it's a family in crisis, like you said. But what is it? What is their foundation? What is it that they're relying on? Is something that I think is beautiful. My family's very supportive. My family, and I told them from the beginning, this is not about you. This is inspired by you, and families going through the same things. I guess there might have been a concern that I was airing a little bit of dirty laundry, but I think in the end of the day, when they saw the film and realized how I was depicting each character as three-dimensional, and every person having whatever issues that they're dealing with, and making them all human, as opposed to saying this is a bad person, or this is the good person, or this is, I think when they experienced the film, in the end of the day, I think they understood what it was I was trying to do. I don't think that was it's undeniable. To see that there's love between these people.
You see that? Yeah. Bites. Told you.
How did I start? I was studying at Dartmouth, just trying to basically find what subjects interest me, because the lawyer and doctor thing didn't really work out. So I just started trying everything, and I wound up stumbling onto acting, which I fell in love with and pursued full throttle from my sophomore year at Dartmouth, and then wound up going to NYU for a master's degree in acting. And then after about 3 years in the industry, in the real world, I realized it wasn't about the same things that school was, and I wanted a little bit more creative control. I wanted to have an opportunity to write and direct the films that I wasn't seeing on the screen. I wanted to, take the reins into my own hands and take responsibility. So went back to school and went back to NYU for film school. And Gun Hill Road is my thesis film at NYU. So that's kind of where it started. I wrote and directed a play, and it was a wonderful experience to see actors speaking words that I had written, and that were my brainchild. Here was coming out of actors' mouths, and having an audience respond emotionally it was a wonderful feeling. But the thing about a play is that it ends. You can't and you can't give someone a DVD, because if you tape that show, it does not communicate the same thing as when you were there in the theater. Also, my community, my people, we don't really go to the theater like we go to the cinema. So I wanted to reach a broader spectrum of people, and that's why I decided to turn my interest towards film.
Please welcome the one, the only, Vanessa.
It cracks and clicks in the glass, it rips to pieces too sharp. I sometimes slip between the creases I've been building out your weakness. Brow and bone structure bent to your likeness.
The lesson that I learned on this one, is that we're not necessarily used to going to see independent films. So I was trying to make an independent film that would have crossover appeal. And I think that I was successful to an extent, but you need people, you need distributors, you need money, in order to market to those communities who might find that appealing. But as soon as you mention it has transgender theme, people kind of run away, when in terms of the money people who would be influential in getting it in front of a lot of people.
What do you got that shit on your head for? Take it off.
Take what off?
I said take that shit off.
Bob!
Bobby, stop! Enrique, no!
My hair!
No!
What? Angie, this shit ends now.
Enrique, no! Leave it alone! He's not hurting anybody!
You don't disrespect.
It's a challenge for our communities, for sure. And I think a lot of that has to do with our religion, our traditions, our culture. And because, we're a people who have gone through so much oppression ourselves, we have to rely on religion even more so and hold on to it. So what we believe religion is saying, we hold on to these things even more dearly. But out of that, I think, unfortunately, becomes a lot of judgment and actually tears apart families instead of keeping them together when it comes to things they believe that are outside of God. So yeah, it is definitely challenging for our culture, but that's the point. That's the point of the film. And for Enrique, I try not to vilify his character. I'm trying to, show a man who does not have the tools necessary to deal with this conflict, but someone who is relying on a deeper knowledge, something that he knows, something that he can feel, that he loves his child, and there's something wrong going, and he's going to investigate, and he's going to explore within himself whatever is necessary to make this relationship work. Now, of course, he fails and he fails and he fails again, but he does learn. Of course he is violently opposed. Everything that has shaped his being, his manhood, his sense of who he is, would make him violently opposed to his child's transition. But there's something deeper, something that he has not learned. Family, love, that connects him to his child in a way that overcomes the rest of his education. What is manhood? I mean, you know, what does that mean? What is being a man? Like, whatever it is we've been taught as a culture, yes, maybe we've had to hold on to these stereotypical, archetypal definitions of what that means in order to make it as far as we've made it. But maybe they don't serve us as much anymore in the way the world is progressing. If those same definitions are now tearing us apart, and the family is what we need to hold on to and progress forward, then maybe we should challenge those definitions. Yeah, the idea that men cannot be vulnerable, and men cannot bend, and they must be this type, especially with machismo and what that means and what are we holding on to exactly? We can't be flexible. We can't embrace things that are different from us. That's not necessarily strength. You know, strength can be looked at in a lot of different ways, and that can be viewed as weakness in a lot of ways. You know, to have one idea of what a man can and should be can be weak. So yeah, I guess a man who is able to admit to himself that maybe what he has learned is incorrect, and be vulnerable and emotional and feel and admit those things, that can be very strong. That can be the glue that we need to keep families together if we're to realize that. I have relatives who, I have female relatives. You would think that, the matriarchs are much more accepting of difference and change than the men, but sometimes they're more machismo than the men. Mm-hmm. They're the one who teach their sons to have this machismo. And sometimes, I have female relatives who have said, because of this child's lifestyle choice or their sexual preference or identity, they're not even welcome in my own home. They cannot cross the threshold because God does not like that. That's not strength. That's, I don't know what that is. That's placing yourself on a higher plane so you can not accept your own family. I think we need to challenge. I think we need to challenge what it is that religion is doing. What it is that religion is saying. Because there are beautiful things, of course, about Christianity and other religions, but you have to get to the center of it. And if you realize that they're all pointing to the fact that we need to accept and love one another as opposed to judge one another, then you've got something there. I think, a lot of times when we deal with these issues, we're looking at people and trying to point to them as something that's so different from us. And I guess with that scene in particular, I wanted to show how we can identify with and relate to this person, that they're human. you know, and you know, the reason why I guess, you know, we don't you know, that we don't see it so much is because if it's not in the mass media, if it's not dealt with in films and art in general, then it feels like something that is away from us and something that we can easily cast aside, judge, throw away, but it's because we don't know anything about it. Mm-hmm. But as soon as we become aware and realize that they're just people, just like you and I, it's very hard to deny their humanity, you know. So yeah, I guess that was kind of the point of that scene, and to also just kind of challenge people's thoughts about what is right and who this person is supposed to be, like in her truest self. Is she a boy, or is she really supposed to be a girl? I mean, look at the way she takes care of herself. You know, look at the way she becomes this butterfly when, you know, which is the mask? You know, she's revealing herself in that scene, and it's clear how beautiful she is, that when you see her, she's, you know, I'm trying to challenge people's perception of what is right and what is wrong, and perhaps this is who she is, you know, and to just challenge what we've been taught. I mean, there's a moment there at the end. And yes, Kike is going away, but he may return. I hope that people watching the film are left with a sense of hope, because I could have had Michael Vanessa not come down and see her father, but there's a moment that they share. You know, and yes, we're rooting for them to hug, and everything's gonna be okay, and we're gonna live in a Disneyland for the rest. But I think people would have been disappointed with that ending. I think it would have been a little bit too sweet and unrealistic. So there's a reality that I wanted to portray, you know, but I wanted to give people a sense of hope. That they may figure it out one day. Maybe not right this second, but each of them in that moment clearly knows that they love the other, that they need each other, and that they've learned.
Mama, you look fierce.
A common custom. The bus boys, you could trust them. With your life, tranquilo, it's safe at night. And if you're in the mood to view the city lights of paradise, you don't even have to go to Paris. You can go out on the rosy Paris terrace, where tropical sounds can be found. You could sit or just lounge, or get boricua down. Mi casa, su casa, que pasa, spoken here, mi raza, su raza. Love is in the air, and nothing compares to New York. It'll make you fall in love. Bésame mucho and all the above. You'll be greeted with kisses and hugs. La comida, la música y la cultura. Eso es la droga. Dancing feet will rip the rug up.